All right. Here we go. Again, starting with question number 2. Now, listen, today is the quadratic formula. Occasionally, I will show classes how we derive the quadratic formula, but we don't really have time today. So we're just going to look at this, all right? And this is a formula that you will use all the way throughout your math career, all right? Even when you're taking calculus, you will use the quadratic formula to solve some problems. So this is something that you need to memorize, all right? It looks a little difficult at first, but everyone in my last class, after we wrote the solution or we wrote the equation 5 or 6 times, it was easy to get into your memory. All right. But again, it's not as easy if you don't write it down. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write down the formula each time. So x equals, then we would say negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Then for these first couple, we're going to write down what a, b, and c is. Now, if you recall, your quadratic is written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So a is simply what? The number in front of the square term. B is simply the number in front of the x term. And c is considered the constant. And all you're doing is plugging numbers into a formula. That's it. That's all you're doing. All right. So in this case right here, we're going to say that a is equal to what?
2.
And b is equal to, and c is equal to, beautiful. All right. Now from that, you're just simply plugging the numbers into the formula. So I have, in this case, x equals negative 8 plus or minus the square root. Now, in this case, I don't write 8 squared. We just know that 8 squared is automatically what? 64. So we're putting 64 in. Then I write minus 4 times a times c all over. And then we just say 2a, which is 4. All right. Anybody have any questions with what I did with just plugging the numbers into the formula? And now from there, what you're doing is you are just simply looking at that and you are simplifying under the radical. All right. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So we have negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 minus 24 all over 4. And again, you won't have to show all the steps, but right now I'm just showing you all the steps just in case there is an issue. Now, of course, we just say 64 minus 24, which is 40. And we have done the square root of 40 a bunch of times, so I'm not expecting that to be a problem, even though it's been probably 2 weeks. All right. Radical 40 is the same as what? Thank you, sir. So I have negative 8 plus or minus 2 radical 10 over 4. All right. Now, last little thing, which makes this a little bit more difficult, is because there's a lot of little minor steps. If you're not careful, you make a mistake and you miss the problem. So now I'd like everybody, please, to highlight the 8, the 2, and the 4. Those can all be divided by what number?
2.
2. So we are reducing the fraction. So we say negative 4 plus or minus. Is it necessary for me to put a 1 down? No. If you do, it's not wrong. It's just not necessary. All over 2. All right. Now that is your introduction to the quadratic formula. All right. Those are the solutions. Now I want to say this real quick. Generally use the quadratic formula when you look at this and say, this cannot factor. Because it cannot factor, we have to find the 2 solutions. All right. So we cannot do it traditionally by factoring. We have to come up with a new technique, and the technique is using the quadratic formula. So after all this work, your solution is negative 4 plus or minus radical 10 over 2. Now, I prefer that you ask me questions now. Anybody stuck on a particular step they want me to redo? Everybody's good? Go. Come on, Jack.
Is the for A, B, and C, is it always going to be set up like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, super important. This is what we would say is the general form of a quadratic formula, ax squared plus bx plus c. It has to be written in that form. And then we say A is the number in front of the square, B is in front of the x, and C is constant. Yes, sir. Go.
Like, so the problem has like X's in it, and then
Yep.
underneath it, when we wrote it out, there were no X's.
Okay, so that's a very good question. So I want to show you back to the good old days here, where I'm just going to make an easy problem so you can understand better. If I said x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0, we factor that into x minus 3, x plus 2, and then we said that x is equal to 3 and x is equal to -2, right?
Yeah.
So here, what I'm showing you is, because we cannot factor this. Now, if you don't understand that, you can tell me, right? Do you understand we cannot factor that, right?
Yeah.
So because we cannot factor, we have to use a new technique. All right, now notice it has nothing to do with factoring, but it still comes down to x equals these values. You understand me?
Yeah.
So x is equal to those values. So I'm still getting a solution x equals, but it's just a completely different technique.
Okay. Yes.
All right. So all of that is done using the quadratic formula. All right. And again, like I said, for those of you guys who are interested in math, you'll be using this forever. All right. As long as you're doing math. All right. So here we go. Number 4, same principle. Please write down the formula. You're trying to have it memorized because we have our first test on Friday. It's not meant to be a pain. I'm not trying to make the last 9 weeks hard. All right. We're just going to work hard until the end.
That's it.
All right. So here we go. Now, the formula, again, please write it down. X equals -b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, for now, I would like for you to just say a equals 1, b equals 8, and c equals 3. Is that really necessary, though? No, because you should be able to look at that and say what a, b, and c are, because they're in the right order. All right. Now you're plugging numbers in. So x equals, what do I have? -8. Thank you very much. Plus or minus the square root 64 minus 4 times 1 times 3 all over 2, because a is 1. Not a big deal. Anybody have any issues with that? All right, now after you do that, you just simplify what's under the radical. And what's 4 times 3?
12.
12. So now you're telling me what's 64 minus 12. So -8, yes, you're right, plus or minus the square root of 52 over 2. Now 52 wasn't as obvious, but who remembers what 52 breaks down to?
2 radical 8.
No,
So,
isn't 52 4 times 13?
2 radical 13.
Yes. All right, come on now. I know it's been a while. That's why I'm trying to refresh your memory. All right. So this will be plus or minus 2 radical 13 all over what? Anybody have any issues? And now, if you don't mind, I'd like for you to highlight the 2, and the 8, and just divide everything by what?
2.
-4 plus or minus radical 13. Anybody have any issues? Anybody have any issues? All right, I told you it's not too bad. It looks complicated, but it's not. All right, here we go with number 6. Here we go. Now, what I want especially here is x equals -b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Everybody good with that? All right, now, does everybody see the -6 is b, right? So -6 makes it what? Yes, 6 plus or minus the square root. So that would be, now when you square a negative, it becomes, because it's a substitution. So 36 minus 4 times what?
3.
Times 2 all over
No,
2a would be what?
6.
Would be 6. Everybody okay with that? All right, now remember your job is to simplify here. So I have 6 plus or minus, what do we got, guys? 12 all over 6. And then we've done 12 hundreds of times. So then this is 6 plus or minus 2 radical 3 all over, come on, guys, 6. Now, again, I just like to highlight so you know which ones you're reducing. Divide by 2. So my final answer is
3
how's that, guys? 3 plus or minus radical 3 over 3.
Wait, why would it come over 3 if we're dividing?
Because we're dividing by how many?
Oh, we're not. Oh, yeah.
Dividing by 2. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right. Now, everybody go ahead and write it out real quick. Let me give you a minute. All right. Let me see how far you can get for number 8. Okay, again, the formula is the most important thing. So here we go. X equals,
negative b plus or minus radical b to the second minus 4ab over 2a.
4ac, is that what you have? All over 2a.
Mine's used a lot.
Everybody good with that? All right, step number 1. X equals -4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 times 1 times -6 all over 2. So X equals -4 plus or minus the square root of, because why is it 40? There's 2 negatives here. So that makes it a positive. Does everybody agree with that? So it's 16 plus 24. So 16 plus 24 is what? All right. Now 40 breaks down to what? 2 radical what? Yes. 2 radical 10 over 2. And then,
Well, that's 2 again.
yep, divide by 2 again. So it's just what?
X equals negative 2 plus or minus. Radical.
Yep.
Wait,
You're right. Radical what?
is that a 10 or 40?
10.
Sorry, radical 10 over nothing.
Yep. It would be technically over 1, but that's
Well,
okay.
yeah, but that's not.
You're right. All right, one more. All right, before we go into the review. Again, let's write it. X equals
Negative b plus radical b to the second minus 4ac over 2a.
again, the objective is try to get out of here today knowing that. All right, so X equals what? 8, come on.
Plus or minus
And then that squared is
64.
minus 4, what's A? And what's C? Right. All over,
2, 8.
agreed? All right. Now, come on, guys, help yourself out here. What's that? Does anybody agree with him? 48? Now, we did 48 a bunch. So what was 48? What was it? 48 was 16 times 3. That's the largest perfect square in 48. So it would be, yes, sir, 4 radical 3. So now X equals 8 plus or minus 4 radical 3 over 8. Then divide by 4.
2 plus or minus 2.
There you have it. Anybody have any issues? All right, now what I want to do is I want to look at the next directions. Now, this is going way back. All right, it's going way back. A week, 2 weeks ago now. All right, I showed you how to do these. All right. So let's start out with number 12. Can I factor that?
No. Yeah.
Yeah, you can factor 4x squared minus 25. So we would just go ahead and do that. 2 sets of parentheses. What does that factor to, guys? 2x and 2x, and then
Minus 5 plus 5.
you're exactly correct. Now from there, remember, I'm expecting you to just be able to look at that and say, well, we know that x equals then
5, negative 5.
negative 5 halves or
Sorry.
5 halves. Now remember, this is a review. It's been 2 weeks. So if you're like, man, I'm kind of forgot, speak up so I can help you. What? So now you have to tell me, do you understand the factoring? What? Well, you just make 2 sets of parentheses. What's 4x squared? That's right, 2x times 2x. And then I want the middle term to be 0. So these have to be exactly the same. And I want the factors of 25. All right. Then you just set the factors equal to 0. All right, anybody else have a question? Nobody? All right, here we go. Now, number 14, it's not set equal to what? So I have to move it over. It's got to be set equal to 0. So 2x squared plus x minus 10 equals 0. Can I factor that? Because I definitely want to factor if I can. I don't want to do the quadratic formula. Does that factor? Now, again, I'm going to try to show you something that'll help you. It can factor because I want everybody to multiply 2 times 10. What's 2 times 10? Are there factors of 20 that make 1? Now, technically, it's negative 20 because there's this negative here. Are there factors of 20 that make 1? 4 and 5, right? So it does factor. So we can factor now. So again, it's always the first times the last. If you want to know if it can factor or not, you always multiply the first times last, and then see if that can break down to the middle term, which is 1. That's how I got the 1. What?
Then, without even doing it, wouldn't you already know that the numbers are 4 and 5?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. All right. So we have 2x and x, and then this would be 2 and this would be 5. And a -2 and a +5. Because 5 times 2 is 10. These two multiply to get 10. And these two multiply to get 2x squared. All right, so now from there, x equals -5/2. X equals 2. All right, is everybody okay with that? All right, here we go. Okay, now you got to think back 2 weeks. So I'm refreshing with you. Isolate the square term. So I have to divide by 3 first. So x plus 1 squared equals 9. Now what do I have to do to both sides?
Square.
Now, how many solutions are there in a quadratic?
It would be 2.
2. So I have to write x plus 1 equals what? Nope. What's the square root of 9? But
Comma negative.
you have to forget, you have to remember, thank you, it's plus or minus 3. Everybody needs to write that down. Plus or minus, whenever you take the square root of x squared, it's plus or minus. So now I have to subtract 1. So -1 plus or minus 3. What's -1 plus 3? -1 plus 3. 2.
Congratulations, Flower.
-1 minus 3. There you have it. Those are your two solutions. -1 plus 3 and -1 minus 3. Everybody good? All right, a little bit harder as we go down the page now.
A little bit.
All right, what am I doing? Isolating again. So what do I have to do to both sides? Actually, we could do that, but normally we do what first? Add 6 first. Right, so we're going to write 3 parentheses x plus 1 squared equals 24. And then what? Divide by 3. So x plus 1 squared equals 8. Now, how do I solve a square? Take the square root. Now, how many times have we done the square root of 8?
Not really.
So what is the square root of 8?
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus 2 radical 2. Very good job. And then what do I do with the 1?
Minus.
That's correct. Very good. So x equals -1 plus or minus 2 radical 2. Anybody? All right, let's knock out 19. I'm sorry, 20. So what do I have to do for this one again?
Square root.
Yes, square root. Come on now, help me out, guys. What's the square root of 100? Don't say 10. What's the square root of 100?
5 radical.
No, no. What's the square root of 100?
2 radical.
Stop. What's the square root of 100?
10
10
radical.
though. Plus or minus 10.
Thank you. That's where the biggest mistakes are made. When you take the square root with the variable, you need to remember the what? Plus or minus. Plus or minus 10. Don't forget that. Now, what do I do with the 3? Subtract it. So 2x equals -3 plus or minus. Then what do I do?
You divide by 2.
So x equals -3 plus or minus 10 all over. Okay, now we don't traditionally leave it like this. All right, so everyone's going to write, just to make sure, what is -3 plus 10? 7 over 2. Then you say, what's -3 minus 10? Negative what? -13 over 2. Those are your two answers. All right. Anybody need me to say that again? -3 plus 10 and then -3 minus 10. Any issues with that? All right. Uh-oh. How do I get rid of a square root? You square both sides. And what's 8 squared? Now, some people say plus or minus. Are we taking the square root? We're squaring. So 8 squared is what? So 64. Now what? And then what? Add 4 and divide by 2. Everybody should be able to do the mental math on that.
X 34.
X equals 34. There's no reason to put +4, 68 divided by 2. Just tell me, X equals what? 34. We can do that. All right, here we go. Uh-oh. I see something new. Proportion. How do I solve proportions?
I don't remember. Do you cross multiply?
Cross multiply. That is correct. When I cross multiply, I get 2x times 3x minus 2 equals. Exactly. Thank you very much, by the way. Equals 3. Now here, it's not set equal to 0, so I've got to distribute. 6x squared.
Minus 4x.
And then every quadratic has to be set equal to 0, right? So now I have to move the 3 over. So that's going to become what? All right, so here we go. 6x squared minus 4x minus 3 equals 0. Now the question is, does that factor? So I need everybody take their highlighter or however you mark special notes, and I need everybody to multiply the first term times the last term. What do you get?
18.
-18 technically, but 18's okay. Then is it possible with those factors to make -4?
Oh. I was,
1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6.
no,
Is it possible to make 4 with those factors? Now, why is this annoying then?
because then you have to do the thing we're doing now.
Yeah, you have to do the quadratic formula, guys. All right, you have to do the quadratic formula. Now, some of my kids said, well, I just like doing the quadratic formula every time. Can you do the quadratic formula every time and still get the same answers? Every single time you'll get the same answers. All right. But factoring is just quicker. All right, so now let's see who remembers. X equals what?
Negative.
-b
Plus or minus
plus or minus.
square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a.
Good job. All over 2a. -b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So now x equals, if I say -4, it would just be what?
Oh,
4 plus or minus square root. B squared is 16 minus 4 times, what's A? Times C, all over 12. Beautiful. All right, now someone take the time, and I need this answer. Someone give me a correct answer, please. Somebody? Come on, you guys. You guys can do 4 times 6 times 3. 72, and it would be positive because there's 2 negatives. Now you just have to tell me what's 16 plus 72. 88. All over. Now, obviously, what perfect square is in 88? Yeah, but neither one of those is a perfect square. 4 times 22. All right. So how does that come out?
2.
2 radical 22.
All over
12.
12. Then you divide by 2. Everybody okay with that? All right, here we go. 26, can I factor that? Are there factors of 16 that make 8? Yes. So that's good news. Much easier problem. So how does that factor? Very good. So this was the double root, correct? So x equals what? Do I have to write it twice? Nope. X equals 4. Off the side if you want, just because I know it's going to be important. It's called a double root. Everybody okay with that? All right, 28. Is this even a quadratic? It's not even a quadratic. It's literally from the first week of school. All right. And some of you I'm a little nervous about. Everyone solve this real quick and let's see if you get it right. See if I've taught you anything this year. First week of school, we did this problem. I know. I'm a failure. You don't have to remind me of that. Yeah, brilliant. We're going to distribute. Thank you. We're going to distribute the 3. 6x minus 12.
Oh, God.
Yeah, some of you already made a mistake. I understand. I totally understand. Don't feel bad. It's just week 1.
We combine the terms.
Wow. Now we combine. 6 minus 7.
What's 4 times?
No, I'm asking what's 6 minus 7. Yes.
Oh, I did 13.
Negative x, actually.
Yeah, come on.
And then what?
Negative 14.
How was the name? Oh, I said negative.
And then he moved the thingy.
Move the thingy. So negative x equals.
X equals 8.
This is so embarrassing.
No, Jack, it's 7. What?
Yeah, I understand, guys. This is pitiful.
How is it 12?
I meant x. X equals 12. Because 14 minus 26. Math.
All right, x equals 12. Come on. All right.
We already said it's the next one.
Now, for question number 30, again, we're isolating, always isolating. Move the 3 first. And what is that going to be? That makes 30. Then after that, you do what? So we know what 30 divided by 2 is. What's that? So now I want everybody to write square root 23x minus 5. What did I say that was? 15. Now, hold on a second. If you're having trouble with that, tell me now. I think everybody should be able to say 33 minus 3 divided by 2 is 15. I just feel like you should be able to do that. Now, how do you undo a radical?
use
Square both sides. So now 23x minus 5 equals 15 squared, guys, 225. And now what do I do?
Then you move the clock.
So 23x equals
Equals
to what?
230.
230. I know some of you are struggling with 25 plus 5.
And the two.
Now we're going to divide both sides by, yeah, thank goodness for calculators, right? X equals how much?
7.
10. Yeah, your grade. All right, for the last quarter.
Out of 0.
No, that 10. All right.
That's
Now,
not
listen.
normal.
Anybody?
Your
Shh,
class
shh, shh,
last
shh.
quarter was very good. I'm an amazing student.
That's God.
Now, hey, listen, guys, I keep trying to tell you now. All right, the practice, I'm really not trying to be a pain for the last 9 weeks. I'm not trying to make it miserable. I'm trying to prepare you for your entrance exams. All right, these are the types of things you're going to be seeing on the entrance exams. All right, so please take the time, try the even or try the odds now. All right, and then if you don't know how to do the odds, look at the video and go to see and check your work on those. All right. Don't waste time, please. All right. Do not waste time. All right. Get started. We do have our first test on Friday already. All right. And tomorrow I'm just going to do the same problems over and over.
Friday